What's up, everyone? Welcome to the What's Your 5 podcast, episode 13. Joining me this week is my resident gaming host and great buddy, Mr. JoelFrrr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing awesome, Riddell. But before we start, man, can we say how fire for our YouTube watchers our new intro is?
Ooh, that's right, dude. So Anthony, in his great production wisdom, was able to conjure up a new intro. So if you guys haven't watched the YouTube video, the intro is straight up fire, let me tell you. So thank you so much, Anthony, for that. You made it so much better, because I would definitely not make it as cool as that. But thank you for mentioning that. Today's episode is going to be the top 5 licensed games. Now, it's a really interesting topic, considering the fact that there's a ton of games that are based off of licenses that really suck. So, I mean, really bad, right? And so I think that being that topic, is come about, we're just like, you know what, there's some licenses now, I mean, given 2020 and all other stuff, but back then, ooh, it's pretty bad.
What this reminded me of, Riddell, when, there was a ton of licensed games in the 90s, like the SNES is notorious for licensed games. Mm-hmm. And it made me think, like, so video games have always been pricey. Like lately they've been, I think the next gen should be in the 70s, but before, even SNES was like in the 40s and 50s.
Those 50s, like, for sure, yeah.
Think about, there's no online reviews, no magazine reviews. No. All the shitty licensed games that parents bought for kids, like for Christmas or for birthdays, that ended up being trash.
And in fact, a story I get reminded of all the time with licensed games is my buddy. He was a big Power Ranger fan, and his mom ended up buying him the Power Ranger Super Nintendo game, which by all accounts is a great game. I mean, it's a great beat 'em up game for like an hour, and after that, like the replay value just goes down in the toilet, because there's no DLC, there's no saves or anything like that, there's no different paths, it's just one back and forth and just go, right? So it's just bad. But I mean, I'm gonna say bad, but it's bad for the longevity. It's a good rental, not a great game to own.
It's funny you mentioned that, Riddell. I have a quick funny story of the Power Ranger Super Nintendo game. So I know there was a couple. So if we're talking about the same one, mid game you have a meter that fills up and you can transform into your suit.
That's the one.
You do extra damage and all this stuff. So
yeah.
Me and my cousins, we were stuck on a stage for a long time.
Right.
I finally got to like a point near the end, or a good way through, where I still saved up my suit power. And we, as kids, you switch off the controller.
Sure.
My cousin accidentally triggered the Mighty Morphin Power Time, and I was pissed. And I wouldn't let it go. It took one of our older cousins to be like, Joel, he didn't mean it, and I was like, doesn't matter. Now we're never gonna beat this stage. And we spent all night playing. It was not one of my finer moments.
No, I bet not. In fact, something This is sad, man, because he didn't know any better, man. But at the same time, you're just like, dude. Like, I remember, super side story. One time I was playing Tecmo Bowl on Nintendo. I don't think you ever played Tecmo. I mean, I don't know if you played Tecmo Bowl, but I mean, it's Tecmo Bowl. The LA Raiders or the Oakland Raiders, they had Bo Jackson. He was like the biggest cheater in the game. One time, like, I was playing as Walter Payton in the Chicago Bears, which is the other OP team, and I was really close to beating them, right? Because it was like the last game, and like my cousins were in the background playing catch with a glove or something, and my cousin missed the catch, and it hit the Nintendo, glitched the Nintendo at the fourth quarter. Oh my God! Let me tell you, dude. If you think you were mad at your cousin, ooh, man. Called her a B. It's the first time I ever called a woman a B in my life, and that was like when I was like 9. And she just was like, what? And she was like 13. She's like,
yeah,
what did you call me? And I'm just like, I was at the end of the game. Like, I could have beat the game. Oh, man. So super side tangent. Sorry about that. But yeah, it was definitely some good times. Good old cousin times, I should say.
Yeah, I remember. So I'm like the opposite of that. I remember. I don't know if you ever played the SmackDown games on PS2, Riddell.
I have, yes, I have.
So there was a really cool feature where you could like make your own belt, like your own championship belt,
Mm.
and then you challenge your friends and bring your memory card over. So you know, like a tile fight.
Yeah.
I will admit, I was losing and I pulled the memory card,
Ooh,
and my
you.
buddy was so upset. But hey, man, my championship belt, my house, my rules.
Wow, that's some pretty salty stuff there, sir.
It is. It is.
Oh man, all right, we can go. We can go all night on this. I usually say my butt first, but I'll just get into it anyways. I'd like to say thank you guys so much, and to all the new viewers, welcome. Hey, thank you guys very much for participating in the first "What's Your Five" giveaway. Stay tuned to our channel, hit the notification bell, subscribe to the channel if you already did, like the video. Make sure you guys do that because we're going to be giving out another wonderful prize this month. So be on the lookout for that. We are going to be announcing the winner of the giveaway later on this podcast. So keep an eye out for that. If you guys want to reach out to us, you know, hit us up on any of our social media platforms, on Instagram, on Twitter at what's your _5. If you want to be on the show, or if you have any topics to suggest for our mini-sodes or just a regular episode, please reach out to us again at topics@whatsyour5.com. So with that out of the way, let's just go ahead. I think, you know, we've talked about licensed games. We talked about cousins. I think we should just go ahead and talk about the licensed games themselves. So Joel, when we usually start this off, I always ask you, what is your criteria for this particular list this time around?
Maybe not so much criteria. Well, one piece of criteria was obviously one game per license. No double dipping.
Okay.
But more so on my deciding my top five were I went half, right? Half obviously is gameplay. I'm not going to have a bad game on my list. The other half, honestly, was immersion, right? We're talking about licensed games that usually kind of elicit like a memory of a movie or a TV show that you were really fond of, and that's why it's cool because it's like you're in the movie or you're in the TV show.
Sure.
So there's a lot of games that were on my list previously that didn't quite hit that immersion emotion and didn't quite make the cut. So that was half my criteria. I have to feel like I'm in the license.
Okay, good deal.
What about you?
Yeah. I think for me, it was first of all, it's either license. For me, it was either licensed game or licensed characters in a game. So I'm not saying get special guest appearances like Zelda in Soul Calibur, none of that stuff. I'm talking about like an actual license that, you know, is a popular license, whatever the case is, and then kind of incorporate that into the game. Also, again, of course, it brings back to memories of the licensed franchise, whether it be a movie or video game, things I played over and over again, all that good stuff from there. So, I mean, those are pretty much my points coming into this. So, you know, I think that's pretty much, you know, how it's going to go about, you know, beauty before age. Do you want to start off, or do you want me to start off this time around? I'm actually
you go for it, Riddell. Go for it, man.
So, number 5 for the top 5 licensed games. I remember playing this game at the arcade, which was, you know, quarter muncher all day long. But then later on, it got an NES port, like a Nintendo port, and my cousin had it, and man, was it so good. The game is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, not only for the arcade, which was again a great beat 'em up in general, but the Nintendo version was actually really good, like for like a translation. Because I mean, you know, back then arcade games were very like animated, and you had all this stuff. And usually, whenever you had like those transitions from that to Nintendo, it wasn't nearly as good, but the arcade game got pretty close to it. I mean, the only thing you're missing is the 4-player control, which I don't think it had with the 4 score, but I know it had 2-player for sure. And, you know, my cousins and I went to town on that thing. It was just a beautiful beat 'em up game overall. Like, did you ever play it when you were growing up?
I haven't. The growing up, the only beat up I played is Turtles in Time, and the only NES turtle game I played was the crippling turtle game that everyone knows about. So I haven't played it.
Really? Wow, man. I mean, you know what, man? I think what you need to do is make sure you turn on your Arcade 1-Up TMNT arcade
Yeah.
cabinet and play the game because it's
Well, that's
actually
why I
really
said
good.
back then. I did play it in the
Oh, I see. I
one
see.
up version, but I didn't play it back in the day.
Gotcha.
I'm really impressed that they made an NES port.
Yeah, no, it
That's
was really
impressive.
good. I know it was a very impressive port. And again, it was just like playing the actual arcade game just on the NES. I mean, obviously there was a little graphical differences, but
Mhm.
it wasn't. Again, there's a lot of different ports that came out from arcade to NES, and the way they did that one was very excellent. So I think for my five at least, good old fashioned TMNT. Shredder and Foot Soldiers and all that stuff. I know you're a big TMNT fan, so I mean, I think you would appreciate that one. But that was my number five.
Nice.
What's your number five, sir?
Number five. I know you played. We talked about this game before.
Mhm.
Number five. Speaking of tons of licensed games on the SNES, this was on the SNES.
Oh, okay.
It's Aladdin, the SNES game. So first
All right.
off, Aladdin is one of my favorite Disney movies. I would say it's probably in the mid '90s, probably my second favorite behind Lion King. Um, but the game was just so it was so charming and fun
Yes.
and faithful to the original. It was like
Yes.
going through the streets of Agrabah or being in the weird genie world.
Mhm.
Um, it was just like it hit every note that the movie hit. And since I was a huge fan of the movie, I was obviously a huge fan of the game.
Right.
I never owned it, but I borrowed it for, let's just say, a lengthy amount of time. And
I think that's how it is for most times, right? Like
it got a long playthrough.
a long loan.
Yeah, it was a long loan.
Yeah.
But I love that game. I do think so. Unpopular opinion. I'm not like a huge skillful gamer,
Okay.
but I do not think the lava stage is as bad as everyone says it was.
Lava Stage was all right. It wasn't that.
It was
bad,
memorization, but
guys.
people swear top 10 hardest stages. They list the lava stage. I'm like, it's just memorization. It's not that bad.
It's
no
not that
Battletoads.
bad. Yeah, it's no Battletoads, man. I mean, if there's anybody that's comparing difficulty here, that game was not bad. And kudos to Capcom back in the day with all those ports, man. What was Aladdin, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers? What was it? What was another one that was good? Dark. I think they did. No, not Darkwing Duck. They did Goof Troop. Amazingly enough, who would have thought a Goof Troop game would have been
The
really
two-player
good?
co-op one, right?
Right, the two-player co-op.
That was
one.
so good.
I know, it's crazy. So I mean, I totally get you on that. I think because you said Aladdin, I might as well just fast forward because number 4 is Aladdin 2. I mean, I loved that game and I loved the way that it was played. Of course, Capcom, one of my favorite companies of all time, they can do no wrong. They nailed it with the platforming in that game. And I know that they did the Genesis one, which was also really good. I don't know if you ever played the Genesis one, but
I haven't.
But the Super Nintendo one was by far super awesome. Throwing the apples, you had a boo going up. And again, I think we just, again, I always say this every time in my head whenever, Joel hits it on the head. It's like, oh, Aladdin was number 2 compared to Lion King was number 1. I'm like, did we just become best friends again? Because
only the game, only the movies. The Lion King video game was nonsense. It was nonsense.
It wasn't made by Capcom, I don't think. So,
that's
so there you go. No, but the movie was great. I loved Lion King and I loved Aladdin, and part of it was because my cousins, same cousins that we talked about in the beginning, they loved Disney, so that was like we got along afterward. Don't worry, but we used to collect all the Lion King trading cards. I don't know if you ever collected those. Yeah, it was like we did that and got all the lenticular ones and all the fancy ones because back then card collecting was really cool in the 90s.
I had Space Jam cards.
Ooh, we're trying to get my son. We're trying to get my son. We just bought him Jordans recently, and we were trying to get him like a Jordan tracksuit to match it.
That'd be cool.
That'd be pretty dope. So, yeah. So I mean, of course, Aladdin's your number 5. It's my number 4 actually. But now that we kind of got that out of the way, because I knew that was going to be a part of it. What's your number 4, sir?
Number 4 for me is going to be Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. So it was tough deciding a Star Wars game. I'm a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
I think The Force Unleashed wasn't as good of a game, which is why it didn't make it. But it really hit like the Star Wars notes, but it wasn't as good of a game.
Sure.
Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic. It's an older game, early 2000s older.
Yep.
It was the first BioWare game that I played, and they of course went on to do Mass Effect and Dragon Age.
Yep.
So great developer. You played as Darth Revan, and it was 10,000 years before Episode 4, so it was a little different.
Right.
But it was just so cool. Like it's the Jedi in their heyday, and after the Mandalorian War, the story was epic. I think they made They made books about it, which are no longer canon, but whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. Is American RPG a genre? Because like JRPG is. If it is,
it's just an RPG.
It's
not
an
a
RPG.
JRPG.
Okay.
RPG. Yeah.
It's kind of like that D&D rolling dice kind of mechanic where
Sure.
you have a attack range and you hit somewhere there.
Yep.
But it was so fun. It was total Star Wars, total callbacks, but obviously it's set in different time periods, so a little bit different.
Right.
But it was such a good game, and the immersion was good enough for being such a different storyline. I loved it. The sequel, while not as good, was also very good. And Darth Revan's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Funny enough, that part, I don't know if it's canon, but they kept Darth Revan as canon, weirdly enough. Disney's doing weird things.
Yeah, Disney's definitely doing weird things. So let me ask you then, did you beat it first as a Jedi, or did you beat it as a Sith Lord? Or
I never played it through as a Sith Lord. I only beat it as a Jedi.
Gotcha. Yeah. I never played it. I know when it came out on Xbox, again, a buddy of mine had it. He loved it, swore by it for sure. And I know that it's always got rave reviews. Whenever somebody brings it up, they always bring up that's one of the actual Star Wars games that does the license / genre justice. Because any other Star Wars game, whether it be Super Star Wars or any of those franchises from Super Nintendo, was hard as hell, and they did not do nearly as well. Oh man, it was terrible.
I wanted to love the first one so much because I loved Star Wars even as a kid.
Yeah,
but I couldn't even get past like the first few levels. It was
it's too hard. It was too hard.
Yeah, it's too hard.
You don't have codes like to get the lightsaber or whatever. Like it was damn near impossible.
Yeah, even with the lightsaber, I found the code for lightsaber, and I still couldn't get the first few levels. So. Tough game indeed. Yeah,
it was very tough game, and so I wish I would have played Knights of the Old Republic. Did you play? You played on PC, I'm assuming.
I played on PC. Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it was one of those games where I wish I would have been able to get into it. I'm not a big American RPG fan. I mean, well, we just talked about that. An RPG fan, I should say. I like being told I like being told what to do, and I like linear things in a lot of respects because it's easier for me to kind of move forward in the story. So I mean, when it comes to like free roam and free reign, not really my forte. So I mean, a lot of open world stuff, GTA and all that stuff, I'm just kind of like, all right, it's cool, but I mean, I think the closest I got to open world or open world in general was Breath of the Wild, which again, one of the best games made of all time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, cool deal. So, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, I like it. Number 3 for me goes back to again, and this is again dating myself. One of my favorite cartoons. In fact, if you watched episode 3 of the podcast, you would know that one of my favorites is DuckTales. And so, be that as it is, DuckTales Nintendo game, man, such a good platformer. I mean, of course. Who made it? Capcom. Yep. And it was just such a great platforming game. And the fact that you had to go back and forth in between different places. I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't done prior to that, but it was definitely something that as a Nintendo game is very, very cool to have. I mean, granted, I don't think there was a save system back then or a save system for that game, but the fact that you had to go to like the Himalayas or you had to go to the moon or you had to do all this stuff, you're just like, wow, like I have to go to all these places just to get these items to kind of get everything together. Just really good gameplay overall. And, and the remake actually was really done very well by Way Forward. I mean, I love the cell shaded graphics as well as the story that they added because they actually added voice characters and they actually added the characters from the voice acting from the show, which was fantastic. So, again, I'm a huge DuckTales fan. I'm trying to get my son to watch the old school DuckTales, but he's not having it. Still,
Yeah, I never played it. I have heard it was a great game, though.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying go get a Nintendo, go buy it. And I'm not going to go buy it, but go play it. Or get an emulator and go play it. But I mean,
find a backup.
Yeah, or like if you have time to get the remake, maybe on iOS or something, hey, by all means, it's like I said, it's definitely a fun time, and I had a really fond memories of it. My brother and I broke the game in half. I mean, by playing, I mean not broken in half physically, but we went to town on that game, so it was really fun times.
Like over under like 40 cartridge blows.
Over.
I got you.
Good call. So, all right. So number 3, sir, what do you got?
Number 3 for me is going to be the latest Spider-Man game, the one on PS4.
Oh, very nice. All right.
So Spider-Man is one of my favorite Marvel properties. He's one of my favorite heroes, and I've actually I'm fond of a lot of the Spider-Man games. The one on PS1 was my favorite for a long time.
Right.
I don't think it had a title called Spider-Man.
Yeah, it was just Spider-Man. Yeah.
They playing that game back, you notice all the tricks of the trade, like the draw distance covered by fog. But this game is it's so fun. It's I want to say the best web slinging like mechanic ever in any game. It's so natural, and you could spend like I don't fast travel in that game because I'd rather just web sling.
Right.
It has an original story, which was done very well, so I don't mind the original story. They chose Peter Parker as an adult and working, not high school. I don't usually chosen as high school or college, like, but yeah, as a minor. But it was really done well. I guess the one thing that I think, and obviously there's a sequel coming up, so they probably changed this in that one. But I think the Rogues Gallery was a little underutilized. Doc Ock was obviously, I guess, the second main bad guy,
right?
But the other ones were kind of shoot in and half through the story, and then spoilers: no Venom, no Carnage. So they'll probably change that, I'm guessing, in the next game. But
I don't know.
Regardless, the game was great. The gameplay was great. The graphics were beautiful. I think I didn't see this game had the most like in-game screenshots of a lot of PS4 games I saw floating on social media. Everyone loved the photo mode for good reason.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man PS4 number 3.
So question, did you watch the Spider-Man animated series on Fox?
One of my favorites, Riddell. How did you guess? I would say Spider-Man 1, Batman 2, X-Men 3 in the 90s. Cartoons.
Man, those bangers. Straight up fire.
So good. So good.
so good. It's such adult kid themes. It's ridiculous.
Fun fact, in the Spider-Man 90s cartoon series, you will never see Spider-Man punch a human. He punches like robots. No. He never punches humans. He only like kicks or web slings or throws. I guess they thought it was too violent for punching.
I guess so. All I know is that they talked ridiculously fast in that show. Like it was like in fast forward the entire time.
Yeah, I've actually noticed that watching on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
I've noticed they made him really buff, which was kind of weird. But
that was the other part. Like he was like a buff, like college kid, just like walking around.
How about you? Out of the '90s cartoon superhero shows, what were your favorites?
Oh man, it was definitely it was Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man, and then you know what? Like I said, we're just best friends. It's all there is to it. I mean, just name something like, oh yeah, it was that one. No, totally. Those were definitely my top. In the '90s, those cartoons were just like so good, and you looked forward to coming home after school and watching them, like, for real. Or in the morning on Saturdays, you watch X-Men, which was like awesome too. And this dates us again. Back in our day, like it was so good. Now my son won't ever be able to experience that. Now he's just, put on the episode again, Dad. Yeah. Put on the episode again. Like, oh, man.
I still remember. I don't remember how old I was, maybe 10 or 11, when I woke up like one Saturday and there were like no cartoons at 7. And I was like, what is this nonsense? It was all like infomercials or news or whatever. And then I was like, it's supposed to be cartoons from like 7 to 10. That's like the thing. That's why I wake up on Saturday.
Yeah, that's why you wake up on Saturday. You eat your cereal that's full of sugar, and you just watch your cartoons all day, and you just get sugared up all. It's just that's just a rite of passage. So I don't know. It's crazy stuff, man. All right, so going on to number 2. Well, we're just knocking through this today. So number 2 is going to be a game that was initially on PS2. Yes, PS2. And has licensed characters in it, not necessarily based on a true license, but it was Kingdom Hearts. So Kingdom Hearts was based on
part 1 is your
PS1. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, part 1. But with bad controls and all, I think that the story was very simple but clean. Yeah, you see what you did there? Yeah,
making me feel some way tonight, Riddell.
Right? Yeah, that's right. A very simple story, but I loved the way that they incorporated Donald and Goofy, and I don't know how they did it without and Mickey being like this mysterious character in the back. I thought that was done very well story wise. Bringing all these worlds together to kind of save the princesses and all that stuff. Great, again, it's a very simple storyline, but it's a very, easy to digest and be able to believe, especially being a Disney type of like game, right? Where there's a lot of influences behind that, and I love the fact that you can switch out your characters and be like the main character, like Hercules, or was it Genie, or was it Genie or Aladdin? No, it was Aladdin. I think when you go into,
He was Aladdin, and I think I don't know if it was one or two, but Simba was in there as well.
Simba was on there too, and
Jack Skellington.
Yeah, Jack Skellington was definitely there for sure. And so and it's funny because I never really watched Nightmare Before Christmas.
I watched it when I was like a teenager, and it's cool. I'm doing air quotes for those listening, and I was like, but I don't really get it.
I don't get it. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know, they're like all about it, like, oh, Jack Skellington, and blah blah. I'm just like, that's cool, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just not a Halloween person. It never was.
I mean, I blame it on you had to have watched it in the era it came out in. That's.
I guess so. I guess that's the case. But anyway, so Kingdom Hearts, was really cool in the sense that you played as Sora, you had your homies, you had Donald and Goofy, and then you had all these different princesses you had to save, and then later on you fight the bad guy, which is great, and that's how it should have played throughout the entire series of this game. But no, they had to go through this crazy like spectrum of time travel and all this other stuff when they get to like 2 and 3, and I'm just like, no, just end it at 2. If you're anybody that's listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, if you ever play Kingdom Hearts, stop at 2. That's all you need to do. You don't need to play 1.5, 1.8, none of that stuff. Just play 1 and 2 and just be done with it, and have your memories from that game for real, because everything else is garbage.
I can't agree with you more, Riddell. That's the reason I loved 1. I played it again on the PS3 remaster, and the controls are garbage.
Oh, garbage.
But it was a perfect, like, slightly complex but very simple at its core story.
Right.
You have all these universes.
Yep.
All the bad guys from the universes collaborate to try to steal stuff, and they be bad. They get the Heartless, and then you join forces with the other good guys to beat them.
Simple and clean.
And clean. You're filling that weight tonight, Riddell.
That's right.
And then 2 introduced like this weird agency and these time traveling and alternate dimensions.
No.
And so in preparation of Kingdom Hearts 3, which I did go to GameStop at midnight, 9 o'clock for, sorry, 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast. I watched a YouTube video of like catching you up on the Kingdom Hearts story.
Oh my
God. It was like 48 minutes, and after like 15, I was like, yep, not finishing this video because it was way too long, way too convoluted. Which is a shame because they had a good thing going, and
they did.
I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed it, but it just wasn't for me, and it sounds like for you.
Oh no, and I played 3 and it was terrible. And like, I mean, they had all the franchises too. They had like Pirates, and they had
Toy Story.
They had Toy Story, one of the best movies, like one of the best Pixar movies ever made, and you just crapped on it. You crapped on the series. It's terrible, absolutely horrible. So
let me ask you this: yes, I picked it up at 9 p.m. at GameStop, and I have yet to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Was the gameplay at least good?
The gameplay was decent, yes.
Okay.
It was pretty good in that respect, but I couldn't get over the voice acting. Like, typically voice acting doesn't make or break a game for me, but this one really did. And like
it's because Kingdom Hearts, half of it's the immersion of being in your favorite Disney world, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, just I was talking about it the other day. It was just like the way that they said it was just like Sora, Donald, Goofy, like it's like they recorded it like in different rooms, and it's like there's no cohesion. It was just like, oh, it's terrible, man. So, but part 1 was great. So
part
keep that
awesome.
in mind. Part 1's awesome. So, number 2, sir, what do you have?
Number 2 for me is this was hard. This is almost my number 1. I flip-flopped a couple times, but number 2 for me is a license that me and Riddell both are very fond of. It's South Park Fractured Butthole.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
To me, Stick of Truth and Fractured Butthole is it's one story, right? So it's kind of one game. So I may talk about jokes from one game, but whatever.
Yeah.
This game feels like you're in a legitimate South Park episode. You're in a 10-hour South Park episode.
Sure.
It has, and they have a lot of source material, but they pulled it very well.
Yeah.
They got the chimp Pokemon, the shitty beef, the shake weight, the finger bang, the ninjas. They got everything, every side joke, every plot line you could wish they referenced it at least once or twice.
Yep.
And the gameplay's not bad. The gameplay's it's JRPG-ish.
Right.
I think I picked Fractured Butthole because they put some additions in the gameplay that I think made it a little more fun. They put like a movement grid,
Right.
put some more abilities, more customization in your character.
Mm-hmm.
But the story is really good. The story in both games is really good.
Yeah.
The gameplay, obviously, I said it's very solid.
Mm-hmm.
But the atmosphere, the jokes, the story. I'm in a South Park episode and a really good one. So that's my number two. I know you're also a huge fan of the South Park.
I am.
license.
I'm a huge South Park fan, and one of the things that I remember watching about both games being made is the fact that Trey Parker and Matt Stone were actually a part of the making of the game. So, I mean, this isn't no South Park kart racing in Nintendo 64 garbage, right? It's an actual game that's just saying because the N64 game is just a bunch of fart jokes and whatever, right? But with the Fractured Butthole, Stick of Truth, I mean, they nailed everything on that. I never got through the whole Fractured Butthole, but I think it was done very well. I did play a couple hours of it, and I think one of the things I'm not saying it would turn me off, but it was definitely something that was kind of hard was the fact that I'd have to play with headphones, or I couldn't play it
I see.
open, because it's pretty brash.
It's vulgar. Yeah,
it's very vulgar, very vulgar. It's very bulldessu. But it was a lot of fart jokes. But I mean, again, playing that game and watching an episode are very, very into it. I mean, if you had another South Park buddy that watched the series, you can watch somebody play this game and it would be kind of almost the same, right? So it's definitely something I would definitely agree upon. You're very good choice on that for sure.
But by the way, this is like this game was made for the Switch.
Yeah.
If you haven't played either of them yet, do yourself a favor and get them on the Switch.
Yeah.
The fact that Switch obviously can sleep and you can pop it up and play for 10 minutes and put it away.
Yep.
That's the perfect kind of platform for this game.
Yep.
So if you haven't got a chance, get it on Switch. You won't be disappointed.
Yep, totally, man. I think the Switch is one of the most amazing systems for RPGs, man. They just need to come out with a bunch of RPGs and just have them on the Switch, like for real, because it's just like the perfect platform for it, like for real. So we're at number two, or I'm sorry, we're gonna get to number one, but we do have to announce this winner. So the anime giveaway winner is going to be notified now. I'm going to go ahead and award the winner here. Just give me a second. So it looks like I'm going to choose. The winner here is going to be...
Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Let's see here. David M. So, David M., congratulations. You are the winner of the Gundam Fight Stick. I will go ahead and reach out to you on your email very shortly, and hopefully you'll be able to respond back to me, and we'll go ahead and get the shipping details and all that stuff available. And again, I truly appreciate your entries, your subs, all that good stuff, and appreciate you listening all this way through, guys. I, deeply appreciate it. And again, we go back to the list here. I wanted to ask Joel before we get to number one, though. What is the honorable mentions you have on your list?
I don't want to go through too many. So my top were TMNT Turtles in Time for the SNES.
What say again? I'm sorry.
Toy Story for the SNES.
Oh wow! All right.
Yeah, it was tough, but it was a Christmas gift, so I had fun playing with that one.
Right.
Star Wars. Shoot, no, I didn't write it down. Star Wars, The Force Unleashed.
Oh,
and let's just go with those. Oh, GoldenEye.
Yes. So that was definitely part of the license list. Turtles in Time was definitely another one as well, but you can't have two. So, or I couldn't have two TMNT games. That would just be cheating. So, but yeah, that was those are my honorable mentions. But good deal. So, number one, here we go. So, this game is actually not an American game. In fact, it's part of my anime number one episode, or it's my number one in anime, which is Dragon Ball Z Part 2 Super Butoden, which is the Part 2 fighting game for Super Nintendo. Again, everybody knows I love my Super Nintendo. Everybody knows I love fighting games. Just put two and two together. My oldest brother in the Philippines, while he was in the Philippines at school, was able to buy this for us and send it back to us. Very, I say this all the time, near and dear in my heart, because my other brother and I literally, again, broke this game in half. We played the crap out of this game, and we were like the best. It was so good. And you had all these fireball fights, between, and they had all the voices from the cartoon. And I remember, my brother would play this game like the hardest difficulty and all this other stuff, just like, hyperbolic time chamber type of deal where he's trying to train for nothing, right? It's not like we're playing in a tournament or anything, but
I'm training. Don't bother me.
Yeah, don't bother me, and we would just go to town. This game was so good, and it was all in Japanese, and we didn't know what the hell they were saying. But man, it was so good. I don't know. Did you ever play any of those imports? Like, when
There was one. I had a backup copy of a Dragon Ball Z Japanese game on PS1. I don't recall the name of it, but it was a fighting game. Kind of boring when you only play with the computer, so I didn't really get into it.
Ultimate Battle 22, I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
It was either Ultimate Battle or Legends, which was the one where it was like 3-on-3 fighting, where like it was just like a bunch of so it was Ultimate Battle 22, which was an alright game. It was
alright, yeah.
So I was
going to ask you how. So I know for a long time, you couldn't get a Dragon Ball Z game domestically.
Yeah.
For a long. How do you feel about like the past generation? There's been so many.
Absolutely, 100% horrible. Every single Dragon Ball game that I've played is bad, really bad. And the reason why that is, I think part of it is because they're trying to incorporate all of these facets in the anime, and they don't do it right. Like Kakarot was good, but it was repetitive, really repetitive. And you can only play the saga so many times before you just get bored out of your mind. Like they need to have what they should have done, which is they should have took a page out of South Park's MO, which is have a brand new story, have a bunch of characters that are, and canon and stuff like that that's in the back, but have like a completely different story altogether. And that would make the game, that would make any type of Dragon Ball game a lot better, because it's something that you've never seen before. It's not like, granted, if you ever, if they did the Tournament of Power, I might be all about it, but the fact that they don't ever have like an original like side game, it's not as fun, because I mean you already know what's gonna happen. Like I remember I told my brother, he's like, oh, I bought Kakarot. I'm like, great, like, did you watch the anime? Yeah. Did you? Then you just beat the game. like you you don't have to do anything. It's the same thing. So.
What was the one before Kakarot? Damn, I can't remember what the name is. But they try to kind of do that thing where someone's interfering with the timeline.
Oh yeah. Oh,
but you end up just playing the rest of the series. I agree, and it leaves out so much. So it's like, is it really that? Am I really living this? Because I'm missing so many details. Because the episodes are so detailed.
I mean, granted, I guess one thing that did pass my mind was the Dragon Ball Fighters. Actually, they did that really well. I will admit that. But if you're talking about like an actual game, like from start to finish, beat 'em up, whatever the case is, trust me, it was none of the games have really ever been to a point where I'm like, oh my god, this is so great. So I mean, that's the way I look at it. But
would you be interested? Kickstarter idea in a Dragon Ball RPG?
I would.
Is it built for that? Because I think RPGs are slower, obviously, but
I think it's built for that. I mean, I think they did something like that with the game that you're talking about, which I'm totally blanking.
It was semi. It was like leveling up. I think.
Yeah, it was like leveling up. Yeah. You can play a different type of a different type of class or different type of race. Like you can play like a Namekian, or you can play like a Saiyan. But think about it though. If you're gonna play a Saiyan or a Namekian or a human, you're gonna pick a Saiyan, because like
I think in that game I chose a Namekian or a Friesen, whatever.
Friesen is. Like a Friesen,
and I ended up going back to Saiyan because.
Yeah. I mean, like, you get more powerful as you get more beat up and pissed off. What else can you do at that point? You're basically the Hulk. You get more powerful.
Don't make me angry. Yep.
Yeah, just don't make me angry, because I'll just get more pissed and beat the hell out of you. So that's my number one. Joel, what do you got?
Number one for me. So again, I mentioned this was tough because I love the South Park series.
Yeah.
But number one, I couldn't deny its impact on the current state of games today. Is Batman Arkham City.
Ooh,
So this game started like the rebirth of the superhero game, if I want to go that dramatic.
Sure.
Asylum, because Arkham City was the second of the
no, second one was actually the one I played, which is awesome. Super
so awesome. Any kind of action game you play now copied this battle system, right? This counter dodge attack battle system. I chose Arkham City because it was more open than Asylum.
Yep.
The Rogues Gallery was so good. They found the way to put every single Batman villain in this game.
I know.
And it lets you also like play as Catwoman and play as Nightwing and play as Robin, and each character actually felt different. Like Catwoman, if you get surrounded, you're dead. But she's much more agile.
Right.
Nightwing is a good mix, so on and so forth.
Yep.
The story was awesome. It was a great. So it was like why haven't they made a movie out of this game yet? It's that good.
I know.
The voice acting was awesome. There's nothing. Honestly, I'm struggling to find things that were bad about this game.
No,
so good. They didn't do the Batmobile thing yet, so that was in the later game, which was pretty bad. Arkham City, man, it was. I didn't realize this, Rodell. It's a 9-year-old game.
Wow.
It's a 9-year-old game.
Wow.
It was a PS3 and PC and Xbox 360. Yeah. But I like it. It is slightly ahead of Spider-Man for me in the hero video game ranking, just because it was so Arkham Asylum and then Arkham City, obviously so revolutionary. It redefined the genre.
Rocksteady did an amazing job with that.
Amazing job.
And they, like I said, between the combat system and the way they produced the presentation of the game, sneaking up on the bad guys and all this other stuff, it was just like so dope.
The detective mode.
Yep.
It was perfect. The perfect game.
Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, again, you're taking all of these elements from Batman the animated series. Kevin Conroy is Batman. Yes.
Mark Hamill's Joker. Oh,
Mark Hamill's Joker. Yeah. Come on, man. You can't go wrong. I'm telling you, these guys just have no.
That's why I'm sure you've seen the arguments online, like who's the best Joker, right? The late Heath Ledger or Jack Nicklaus. But I'm like, Mark Hamill, guys. Mark Hamill's the Joker.
Come on, man. You say that Mark Hamill is the Joker. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong. Jack Nicholson was great in the Tim Burton films. I mean, out of all the Tim Burton, I mean, that was great. But I mean, Heath Ledger took it to town with Nolan for sure. But I mean, those Joker's one of the best villains ever made, right? But then the other thing too is just like the voice with Mark Hamill and just having him just like maniacally laugh or going crazy. It's just like you just feel it and you're like, holy crap, man, that really is a crazy mofo. I'll tell you that. So yeah, I can totally see that. Good call, man. Good call, man. Those were really good picks, man. I would definitely.
I tried to be diverse.
Yeah.
My original list was a lot. Like I think I had Toy Story and Aladdin and Pokemon, and I was like, this is all from like one time era. So I tried to be a little more diverse.
No, you did it. No, I think you did an awesome job. I think for me it was mine's all old school, and I think we did an episode. Hopefully we'll be able to get that out soon. For a special giveaway, but we talked about how I'm pretty old compared to what Joel has been playing, so we're actually looking to have our special episode air very soon. This is actually going to have our next November giveaway, so be on the lookout for that. That's it for us for our podcast. What do you guys think about the licensed games? Do you guys think that we missed anything? So I want to see what you have in the comments down below on our YouTube channel. If you have any, type of, responses, reach out to us on our social media, our Twitter, our Instagram at whatsyour_5. Email us if you want to be on the show. If you have any suggestions at topics@whatsyour5.com. And again, congratulations to our winner. We'll be reaching out to you by the end of the week for all the details. And again, if you haven't hit that notification bell, please hit it. My name is Rodell. That's Joel. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.